Hello, all. Do you know that we all have some inherent shortcomings in us? And what I mean by inherent shortcomings means something which we are naturally not in a position to do. For some, it might be they are not good in studies. For some of the men, whom we expect to be very good in finances, but some of the men, they might not be good in finances. Like for the women, we expect them to be good in house chores, but there might be some women who are not good at it. Similarly, we all have some inherent shortcomings within us. And though I'm saying shortcomings because it's something which is expected of us and we don't have it, but that's actually a natural part of us which we don't have. So I want to talk about that generally, what we do when we have such shortcomings. So I remember I had one shortcoming which was naturally there, which is I never used to remember things. However well I studied, but the next day I used to forget it. I had this shortcoming which was that I used to forget the next day whatever I learned the previous day. And obviously, as you know, the school pressure, the pressure of learning, doing good, what I did was I started mugging up. And to such an extent that I used to spend hours mugging the same thing again and again so that I can remember it the next day. So that became like a habit to me, that is mugging. And that continued with me. This habit continued with me as I grew up as an adult, during my college days, or as I grew up in adult. Everywhere I was just doing the same thing, mugging, just to make sure that I can remember things the next day when it is required. And same thing I did with the job also when it came to learning technology and everything. Why I'm sharing this with you is majority of the time when we have a shortcomings within us, something which is inherent. I've shared few examples. Something which is inherent, what we try to do is we try to resist it. We try to resist that shortcoming. Instead of accepting that shortcoming, we resist it and we try to create methods and means and whatnot in order to cover it up. And we start living that life by covering up that shortcoming. It's like when I'm sharing this with you, an example comes to me is like I'm walking with my slippers and there is a hole in my slipper. Instead of addressing that hole, I am asking myself to be stronger, my legs to be stronger, to bear that hurt which is coming from the hole in the chappal or in the slipper. So that's what we do with our inherent shortcomings. We resist it, we build cover up, and we build it so strong, and we start living a life covering up that inherent shortcoming. So as I grew up with that shortcoming of not able to remember things, there came a point when I realized that it's a shortcoming within me, and hence I'm trying to remember things, memorize things. It's just hurting me because it's giving me a lot of stress. When I realized that, at that point of time, I decided to accept it. And what I mean by accept it, I decided to be okay with it. And what I mean by being okay with it is that I was fine that I have this shortcoming. Even if it meant that I share it with others or I have to share it with others, even if it meant others know about it, I was perfectly okay with it. And what I realized is when I started becoming okay with that shortcoming, I started finding opportunities how to be with it. Instead of covering it up, I started finding opportunities how to be with it. And when I started being with that shortcoming, I realized that there are ways for me to remember things. And while being okay with this, create something which allows me to remember things.